Hey guys, and welcome to the Kurima podcast, where we talk about business, finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate. I'm your host, Jason Kurima, and I have two very special guests today, Chris Forsythe and Leevi Babb. Guys, thank you for coming today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having us today. We're excited to be here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So these guys are big-time real estate investors, and then they also own the Joplin REIA, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And so I just want to kind of dive in and hear your guys' story, how you got started, and how maybe you might have some tips for how other people can kind of get started in real estate.
Awesome.
Chris.
Yeah, so I'll get started. For me, I'll kind of go forward to go backwards. I spent 17 years in corporate. So in leadership in corporate, did a little bit of everything from floor work. I worked my way up into supervision. Pretty much hit the point where I went as far as I could, got my education, knew there was more that I wanted to do. So I'll kind of back up at that. I've done everything from auto technology in school. I took actually 3 years of auto technology in high school. Raised cattle, started flipping homes, kind of teetered and ventured into this in the corporate world, but I never just jumped all in. And so I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm at a point in my career where I think I want to go do my own thing, and I thought it would be easy. Right? So corporate for me seemed pretty easy. I worked a lot of hours, managed a lot of crews, and thought, man, doing my own thing is going to be really simple. So I took a leap in 2017, put my 2 weeks in. And when you're in a leadership role in an organization, a big company, when you make those moves, it's kind of known that you suddenly took a leap. Yeah. That's a magnifying glass on you. And I thought, yeah, this will be simple. So I just put my 2 weeks in without a loan to purchase my first business.
Wow.
Dang.
Went up, put my 2 weeks in, shaking all the way up to the front to my boss, right? Put the 2 weeks in, and I'm like, one of my first options fell through. So as an entrepreneur, as you guys know, a lot of times, we look at multiple exit strategies on a lot of deals. Yeah. I didn't really look at multiple options for that loan for that company that I'd already agreed to buy. Put my 2 weeks in. I'm like, okay, I've got 2 weeks to figure this out. And so that's what I went to work on is securing that. And I don't know how far you want me to go that direction.
As far as you want.
But so I had 2 weeks to secure that loan, figured it out. Went to a bank that I'd been at since I was 6 years old. Met with the president. That's kind of how the small banks work. Sat down, explained my situation. Said, I bought a building and I bought a business, and I'm going to do this. And he looked at me for a while, kind of analyzed it, and he goes, well, if I'm gonna bet on anyone, I'm just going to go ahead and bet on you, and let's make this happen. That was a big sigh of relief for me, and knowing that someone had confidence in me, and also that I could continue with that exit strategy out of corporate, that I'd decided to take the leap. So for me, I think the first question is, what's our journey look like? I could go down a lot of rabbit trails with that scenario, but I've done a lot of different things to get up to that leap I took in 2017, and committing to going out on my own.
Awesome.
So
That's very neat.
So how did you guys eventually meet?
So Leevi and I, it's been a couple years, probably 2 to 3 years ago, pushing 3, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's 23 going on 24, so it would have been, you guys started up the REIA back again in the fall, right?
After kind of after the whole COVID.
The whole COVID situation, so it was in the fall, because I know that Jason Hedges, which you've known Jason for a while.
Right.
I got to know Jason, that was probably 6 months that I'd known Jason at that point. He invited me to a REIA meeting. You guys were doing it there at the country club there in Carl Junction, and I want to say that was the fall of 20?
I think so.
21?
21.
Fall of 21. Yeah. That's what I was like. I was trying to go back and forth on that. Fall of 21. Showed up to that meeting. Loved it. Kept showing up to the meetings. And basically through those meetings, Chris and I just kind of started conversating, getting to know each other. And then it just seemed like we were meeting outside of the REIA meetings and just kind of started forming a relationship. And then an opportunity came about. Chris had a partner in the REIA at the time that there was a buyout option, and I decided that, yeah, I want to do this with Chris and watch this thing grow. And that was that was a year ago, back in
22, early
Yeah.
22 maybe. So time gets away.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it's
Yeah. I'm
so-
trying to think of all these timelines, and
Yep.
I'm like, my goodness, like you went all the way back, because oddly enough, my real estate journey started in 2017 as well. So like that
Yep.
was kind of one thing that when we got to talking, it was like, it's kind of weird that both of our journeys started in 2017. There's a few years in age gap there, but
Yep, slightly.
but as far as 2017 goes, that I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, as far as the REIA goes, yeah, it's been over a year now, probably pushing closer to a year and a half that I joined Chris in the REIA, and then you'd been a part of the REIA for how many years?
Yeah, so we're working on 3 right now.
So 3, yeah.
Like, tell your background a little bit and what you were doing before you got into real estate.
Gosh, how far do you want me to go back?
I mean, if you want to start from high school or whatever.
So I mean, yeah. So I guess high school, I had the opportunity to go play for the number 1 NAIA team in the country at the time, and I signed as early as I possibly could to go play baseball. And God had a different direction at that point. During a game my senior year, ended up getting a pretty bad concussion, and through that concussion, ended up going through finding out that I had this tumor in the third ventricle of my brain.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Holy crap.
so like a year and a half of going through nothing but that stuff. And so that kind of stopped the journey of baseball. So then it was like, okay, well, crap, now I've got to figure out a different path. So I knew kind of as a kid, I was like, I want to go play baseball, but baseball's got to end at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We all know this, that sports ends at some point. And so it was like, what do I want to do after that? And it was like, I know I want to own a business, but I have no idea what that looks like. I have zero clue. And so I ended up going to Missouri Southern in the fall. This would be, I graduated in 2014, so fall of 14, and I go to MSSU. I was like, I'm going to go for accounting. This sounds really cool. Like, I'm going to go for accounting. I get, let's see here. So this would take me to 2016. I'm in accounting 4, and they tell me the suicide rate for accountants the year before was like 36%.
Oh my gosh.
There was 4 of us that got up and left. I went to my advisor, and I was like, I don't think this is for me. Like, I was like, to be honest, I'm like, I'm ready to just go get started. I knew that pretty much my time with kind of the academics that I had at that point that was paying for school, and kind of some other stuff that was paying for school, I knew I was getting to that point where I was going to have to either start taking student loans or go start making money. Like it was kind of at that breaking point, and I was like, man, I really don't want to do student loans. Ended up having to take a small, tiny little one. So I was lucky enough there to not have to rack up a bunch of student loan debt or anything like that. But ended up talking with my advisor, and she's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'd really like to own my own business. Like, that's really what I'd like to do. She's like, well, you need to go take these entrepreneurship classes. What in the world is entrepreneurship? No clue. Dude, how to spell it. Like, it's like, what is that? So started taking all these classes, and I was like, right after the first semester, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to do this. But okay, you start learning what an entrepreneur is, and what that looks like, and it's like, man, this could be a broad horizon of things. Well, kind of right there at the end, that it was like, okay, like I now have bills to pay for. Like, what are we going to do here? And so I kind of started doing, I had a little bit of background with like handyman construction stuff. So I started kind of doing that in 2016 to start paying for stuff. And that kind of led to me being able to make relationships with real estate agents at the time. Basically their punch list to closing, after inspection periods and stuff like that. I was going through and, doing some stuff like that, doing some maintenance items for a real estate agent that did property management. So, there was kind of the property management side of things to that. I was kind of doing the maintenance for that agent, and then formed a relationship with that agent, and it just kind of, the gears started turning, and kind of one day just saw the breakdown, and it's like, okay, I'm the maintenance guy. This is the real estate agent. Here's the investor. I'm getting paid the least, and I feel like I'm putting forth the most effort, and so it's kind of like, okay, maybe this is that breaking point. Maybe this is where things get stepped up, and so. In 2017, I decided to go get my real estate license, and still kind of did some of the handyman work and stuff like that, but pretty well made it a point that it was like, okay, I'm turning this switch off and I'm turning this switch on. Like, if we're going to do this, we're all in. And so got my real estate license, started selling real estate, and fast forward basically a year to 2018, I was like, okay, I've been working with a lot of investors at this point. I'm seeing this is ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I was making good money as a real estate agent, but I was seeing what these guys were making, and it's like, I'm doing a closing and then another closing in like less than 90 days. And I'm seeing their settlement statements, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm putting forth all this effort, and they're literally just writing checks, making phone calls. Because, the investors I was working with at the time, they weren't real hands-on, kind of like I think all of us are, So, there's that aspect to it as an investor. You see the hands-on person and the hands-off person. And so, a creative finance deal kind of came up as an option. There was another real estate agent that was retiring out to Florida and was just kind of selling off the rest of their stuff. And so I kind of bought my first deal on a seller finance deal. I actually had a closing that had just happened, that was just going to happen. And so I was like, perfect. That closing is dedicated to this closing cost and everything here. I did it, no money down or anything like that. So all I had to pay for was the closing cost, my portion of the closing cost. So it was like $1,200 to be able to buy my first deal. Kind of in all of that, I got married, and going before that, I got married, and so I started kind of buying some real estate deals, and then decided that I wanted to go grow myself, and came home one weekend, and that was it. So going into 2019, I was getting a divorce. So then rolling into 2020, that was my year. I thought, I was like, it's 2020, it's the roaring 20s. Like, I was all on board to it. Like, I was just like, this is going to be it. And so went out to the 10X conference. I was throwing everything all in. I really didn't have much money at the time, but I was like, I am throwing it all in. So going into 2020, I actually met my now wife, and we kind of started talking, and nothing was real serious going into that 10X conference. But coming out of it, it was pretty much like, okay, this is go time. And then COVID hit. And so literally it was just like gearing up, COVID hit. And so luckily right after my divorce, I was able to kind of turn around with a bank and still be able to go get some lending, and had a house that I was doing at the time. And I was like, okay, this is the switch. I think I had 21 houses under contract as far as agent side, and as real estate agent side, I had 21 houses under contract.
Still good.
That is still really good, yeah.
Thank you.
And then you mentioned the 2020 10X conference. Was that the Las Vegas one?
That was the Las Vegas one.
Okay, we were actually there.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you watched Undercover Billionaire when Grant was, so that was all at the same time and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a crazy time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so had those under contract. All of those fell apart. just people freaked out. COVID hit, people lost their jobs. They got, they were like, okay, nope, we're shutting down for the next month, so you got to go work from home. Like, now all of a sudden lending just went crazy and stuff like that. So all my deals that I had under contract that I was closing for commission dollars just went down the drain.
All 21 of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think we ended up getting one put back together and got it closed. But it took a couple of weeks to come back around to it, just because of they did a layoff for me, because everybody just shut down for a minute. Like, it was just completely shut down. And so from there, I had this house that I was like, okay, I still know construction. I really didn't like the contractor that I was working with at the time. We were kind of butting heads and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, this is the opportunity to just be like, hey, I appreciate what you've gotten me to this point, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish this out. And so that was the perfect opportunity. My refinance on that, I got that house done in about 35 days with the help of my now wife.
So you guys did a lot of the work?
Yeah, we did a lot of the work ourselves. We laid all the flooring, did all the painting. I mean, everything. All the light fixtures, plugs, switches. Had to completely remodel the bathroom. Luckily the roof, siding, and windows had been done at that point. So pretty much if you can think anything interior-wise, I mean, we did it. And the refinance on that alone, which obviously, as we all know, is tax-free income, was the exact same amount as my commission dollars were going to be. On like so that weird. And that's why I wanted to spend a second on that, is because like that was truly then the stepping stones of where I'm at today. Like that happening in early 2020 is honestly the reason where I'm at today. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on that to get the picture of, I mean, I like coming out of that 10X conference, like my phone was getting shut off. Like I didn't know how I was going to get my truck out of the airport parking. Like, I mean, it was literally, I was spending every dollar I possibly could to go all in. And fast forward, and then all of a sudden it was just, things started lining up.
Well, sounds like it paid off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So.
And how old are you now? You have to think about it.
Born in 96. So what is that? 27? Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I was like, oh shoot. So yeah, 27. Chris is 28.
Yeah. Just turned 28.
That's cool. So what's one of the best lessons you've both learned in life, you feel like, or in business?
We were actually talking about this.
Yeah.
On the drive up. Chris?
Yeah. So for me, like, there's a lot as an entrepreneur, as you guys know, like, every day we got a challenge. Like before I walked in here, dealing with fires and putting things out. But for me, it's always, I don't think big enough. So like right now, worrying so much about money and what's in the bank. And I've been doing my best this year to go, no, wait, I've got a challenge, because I haven't thought big enough. I haven't went big enough. So as we walked in, Leevi and I were talking, I'm like, I'm slinging out offers right now to stack my 24 going into 24. So I know that I've got some stuff in front of me, so that I'm thinking bigger. I'm making bigger offers, trying to take down bigger deals. So for me, it's not pushing momentum hard enough. And when I know I'm winning, is pushing harder, building off that momentum, and then going bigger. It's retracting sometimes when I shouldn't have. Okay. So for me, it's like, okay, always looking at a bigger deal, or helping more people, being more of a go-giver. We mentioned Pace. We're both sub-2 students of his, and so we have had some one-on-one time with him.
Absolutely.
And I see how much he gives to that community, and it's like, how can I give to our community? And that's something we're really focused on going into 24 is how can we give a lot more than we have? So thinking bigger there, but also thinking bigger in our deals, and so for me, the biggest lesson is build off your momentum, and always think bigger. Don't be complacent.
What about you?
I mean, mine's always embrace the haters. I mean, there's always going to be those people out there. I mean, kind of going back to, my 2020 situation. I mean, I'm literally coming off a divorce, like, pretty much went back to nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, barely being able to pay stuff. I mean, there's a story that next meeting at the Joplin REIA, we'll actually go into full detail into this, but there was a moment that I was sitting at a Domino's with my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, and I asked her to pay for pizza because I literally didn't have the money to be able to pay for pizza. And
Wow.
there's more to that story, but you'll have to show up to get the rest of that. So yeah, I mean, it's, it's people looking at, situations like that being like, no, you can't do it. Like, you don't have any money. How are you going to be able to do that? Nobody's going to trust you. Nobody's going to give you the opportunity. And it's like, no, there's always somebody out there rooting for you. Always somebody. It's just getting in the right rooms around the right people that are your biggest cheerleaders. I mean, the people are out there and want you to succeed and win. It's keeping that drive and that mindset of going and finding those people.
Whenever your back's against the wall, what are you going to do?
Absolutely.
And I feel like you definitely went through that. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Especially for you to take that and run with it rather than a lot of people would just kind of crumble, right?
Yeah.
So that's really a cool story.
Thank you.
Damon John has a book, The Power Broke, and
Yes.
it goes back to that mindset. It's sometimes you got to put your back against the wall, like you were saying, to grow. And I'm in one of those periods right now. I'm pushing myself in the wall, stretching myself, making myself leverage things that I haven't before, knowing that's propelling me forward and my team. So
You've got to be in those situations to come out of those situations, to have the understanding and the knowledge to be able to gain forward from there.
Yep.
I mean, you really have to go through that.
I think it makes you a lot stronger, and it makes you the person that can handle the bigger stuff, like the bigger problems as they come. Because like early on, it sucks when you're broke and you don't have a whole lot and you're trying to grow and you keep pushing and then you get knocked down a little bit and then you keep pushing again. Just that grind sucks. But for me, I'm glad I went through it because now I can handle those bigger issues whenever they arise.
We were talking about this on the way up. I mean, had some employees that decided to part ways with us and stuff. And, there's a lot of people that would just look at that and just be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I've now got all this stuff back on my plate, this, that, blah, blah, blah. It's not some other thing. We'll move on. This is the process. This is what we're going to do next. This is how this is going to be handled. Just restructure stuff. Let's move on. Like, it's no big deal. Other people, they get in that situation, or maybe they're in that situation the first time, and it seems like the world is just literally crumbling you to the ground. And it's one of those moments that, I mean,
I told him this morning he had that problem. It's like you should have hired more employees.
That was my issue. Is I didn't have enough employees. I mean, honestly, like we need to go out and hire double. I mean,
like taking that ownership of like this happened, but it's my responsibility no matter what. So I have to own it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what does believe in yourself mean to you guys? So like for me, I use it in all my posts. To me, it means like I have this big goal, these big dreams that I want to accomplish, and I have to believe in myself because if I don't, I'm never going to accomplish that stuff. So what would you guys say it means for you?
I mean, to segue right into what we were just talking about, I mean, for me, it's just that. It's knowing that, okay, the situation happened, but I know through all these steps that we're going to be just fine. Like, just keep on pushing through. Because if I all of a sudden start crumbling and I look weak and, I go in the field position and start crying, then, what's that going to do to my wife? What's that going to do to my kids? What's that going to do to the people around me, my other employees that are still with me, so on and so forth? What's that going to do with my business relationships? It's going to propel from there. So how you react is how others are going to react.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just, holding that ground and being able to say, no, we got this. Everything is figure outable. Yeah.
You love saying that. And then I think she spoke at that year with the 10X conference. That was the same year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I can't remember her name, but she wrote that book about everything's figure outable and
there's somebody, if they were watching this right now, they would have a book over the back of my head. It'll come to me here in a minute.
That's all right. So what's one or a few of your goals that you guys are working on right now? Either together for the REIA or separately?
Yeah, so for the REIA, we're working on series. So each quarter of next year, we're going to have a series, kicking off a series. So we're more intentional with what we do in that community. And then personally, I'm still not quite dialed in with where I want my personal goals, but I'm pushing myself in ways like I've got a couple businesses that aren't exactly where I want them, but I think there's a reason why they are. And this is going to sound maybe counterintuitive what we're talking about today, but I may need to pull back and really be intentional with where I'm growing and where my team's growing, and make those tough decisions, putting my back in the wall, maybe going against a few things, and really dialing back to move forward. So that's been tough for me this last quarter. I've put my head down. I've been a lot more quiet, and I've put my head down and went to work a lot harder, went at things a lot harder, and learning to delegate a little better, and knowing when I hit 24, there may be a few things that I pull back from that I've been intentional with for the last 5 to 6 years. Tough decisions, but yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, with the REIA, I mean, the series, kind of like what Chris said, we're starting off kind of with couples in real estate is kind of the series that we're going to start off with. And, we don't want to discourage that from single people in real estate or anything like that. But I mean, it's a team. I mean, really to be successful, I mean, Chris can even attest to that. I mean, it takes a team to be able to do what we're doing today. And so, I don't want that to just come off like, you have to be married to be, successful in real estate or anything like that. Another big thing that we're trying to head off, and I don't know if we'll get it squeezed into 24, but we're going to push through and try. If we can, we're going to try and host a conference. So that's a big one that we're trying to push through for. And as Chris stated, I think it's recognizing and dialing back in some areas that truly need to dial back a little bit, but then that's allowing to hit the gas in some other areas, and that would definitely be one of those areas that I would want to dedicate more time to, bringing something a little closer to home that we can bring in those national speakers and be able to put that more closer to a setting of here. So that's a huge goal that we have. As far as personal goals, mine's just real simple. It's just be a better person, help as many more people as I can. I know that it's going to be a goal every year that Chris and I are going to set and push each other on, is helping 365 people every year, and at some point we're going to have to double it. And then if Grant was here, he'd tell us that, we need to 10X it. So, it's kind of looking forward in those ways.
So what makes you want to help people where I feel like there's a lot of people in real estate that kind of want to gatekeep because it took them a lot to get where they are. So if you just help them and then they're able to do everything you just did, like, is there a reason why you really want to help people?
Yeah, I would love for everybody to do what I do. It makes their situation better. I mean, if I could, I'd go out and hire, 100 employees and pay them $100,000 a year. I would love to be able to bless people that way. At the end of the day, there was somebody when I first got into real estate, they told me that you always need to be in the middle. So you always need to have somebody above you and below you. Yeah. So that way you have somebody to look up to, and somebody else can look up to you. So then that way you have that stair step, because as you're wanting to go acquire different assets, they're wanting to acquire your assets. So then it's always a stair step, and I never want to say that in a demeaning way to where it's somebody's always going to be below you, but somebody always will, because there's always somebody getting started every single day. Yeah. There's somebody that's been doing it for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I'm not going to be on the same level as that person. Yeah. So there's always going to be able to be that stair step. So I hope somebody comes on and just completely does what we do every day. That's awesome. There's enough real estate in this world to do that.
I agree.
And with that, we meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of people that want to get into it, right? Back to you ask about believing in yourself, there's so many people that truly don't believe in themselves. And I'm probably getting a little harsh here, but they'll come to, let's just say they come to 1 or 2 meetings, right? All you have to do is continue to show up. If that's going to be your community, if the REIA is your community, whatever that community is.
There's a ton of platforms. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Pace, we've talked about Grant, there's the REIA, we know about the cartel. We could go on and on and on.
But they don't believe enough in themselves to continue to show up. They go back to that 9-to-5 W-2 job that they're not happy with. I see it every day. Yeah. And they don't want to take the step and put themselves with people that are doing it, and they give up and they go back. And I see it daily. It's the people that don't do that they keep showing up, that we're really passionate about helping. It's the people that really want to help themselves that we want to help. And we broke down in the last meeting, December meeting, we're we're here. We had a smaller group that month.
We did.
And we're like, we're here to connect with you and grow with you. I want to do business with everyone in this room. And there was quite a few in the room that I'd done business with. We've both done business with.
Yes.
And you're here tonight, and we're going to be intentional going into 24 to do business with you. But there's obviously some people that don't show up every time. And I don't mean the REIA. I'm just saying in life, like, you got to show back up the next day.
And it's okay. I mean, to miss out on some opportunities and stuff like that. But I mean, it's the conversations that it's like, okay, no, I'm all in. Like this, I'm ready to switch this off and turn this on, and I'm ready to go. But then it's 6 months before I hear from you again, and then all of a sudden it's, well, hey, I want to pick up where we left off. Well, I'm not where we left off, to be honest with you. And so I think to kind of piggyback off of Chris, I mean, I think in any aspect of that, like, you've got to be intentional. I mean, if you're not intentional and working through that every single day, then you're probably going to miss out on a lot. And then you're going to look back and go, well, this didn't make sense. Well, this didn't make sense. Well, that doesn't financially make sense. Well, it doesn't, because you're not putting in the full effort to it.
Yep. I know my grandpa was a big influence in my life, but he was a W-2 employee all his life, very conservative. And he looked at me one day, he's like, you had a roof leaking. And I'm like, yeah, I do. It was one of my investments. And he goes, oh my. I go, Grandpa, I wish I had 10, or 100. And his face, he was like, what? I go, yeah, like, why would I not want 10 roofs leaking or 100 roofs leaking? Mm-hmm. And we understand that problems are coming with our business. It's going to happen. Roofs are going to leak, pipes are going to burst. Mm-hmm. And we build teams around that. We build processes around that. But, some people, like, it's a big deal when their roof leaks, right? Mm-hmm. Like my grandpa. Yeah. I love my grandpa, but I want 10 of those leaking. Mm-hmm. And people think we're crazy because that's what we say, but it's so true. It's we embrace those challenges.
What I've seen is a lot of people get fed up with their current situation, so they do something
rash,
but then they stop.
Yeah.
So they go to a REIA or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 times, like you were saying.
Go to a 10X conference. Go to a Pace Morby meetup. Go, whatever it is. Yeah.
And then they do nothing with it. Like they go there, get motivated, and then they stop. Like you do the next step, and then they just drop it. They're just like, well, I feel better, and then they go back to their job. And then they go back into a cycle where they complain. A year or 2 later, they go back to a REIA, and then they stop again. Over and over.
I mean, it's just, just going back to like Pace and Grant. I mean, the reason that they're throwing all this other stuff at you, just go to the 10X conference. I mean, how many times was it, this is your next step, this needs to be your next step, this is your next step? And so many people are just like, well, he's just trying to sell me on this. Like, he just wants more money. He's being greedy. And it's like, no, you have to go take the next step, or you're going to walk out of here. You're going to have this great notebook of ideas. And the statistics is 12 days later, you're just going to freaking throw it away. I mean, that's the honest truth, is because if you don't stay consistent with it for 33 days straight, you might as well just throw the information away. And that was just the biggest waste of money ever. Mm-hmm. And that's where people get.
Yeah.
So it's just staying the consistency, and I think it ties back into several of the questions that we've been into, that it's just you have to believe in yourself and stay consistent.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you guys are kind of scared to do right now, but you need to do it for your business? I feel like that's a tough question, but if you're honest with yourself, there's a lot of truth in the question, I think.
Yeah. So it's one of my businesses that's stepping out of it. Honestly, it is. I'm involved too heavily in day-to-day, and I know this.
Which business is it?
Yeah. So to truly, I was listening to, I'm listening to a book right now. It's Patrick Bet-David, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, I think is the name. I think that's the name of it.
Is that his newest one?
That's the newest one, just released.
Yep.
And, I listened to his story and where he came from, and, the business he built. I'm like, man, like his agency and the way he scaled it, I've got a small agency. If I get out of my own way, hire people, and scale, we can grow so much faster than me being involved in the day-to-day. Like, so for me, it's like sometimes it's pulling myself out, hiring, so that we can scale. And I think maybe I'm not a micromanager, but maybe I am a micromanager, right? And so it's pulling myself out, building the systems, which we're working on today now, and then hiring and filling those roles. And that's hard, because as an entrepreneur, you're used to doing it all. Yep. And that's been the hardest for me, is like dialing back, allowing people to succeed or fail. Some people are going to quit. Some people are going to flourish, and then growing out. And I know that when I do that, we're going to grow a lot more than what I've done the last 6-7 years.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of my little spot where I'm at. It's like I got to hire and pull out to really grow.
So that's kind of where I am right now. Right now I'm working with a couple contractors, which is great, but sometimes they'll go off and do another project in between our projects, and that kind of sucks. So I really need to start building my own teams and crews to where they're always prioritizing my stuff. So that's the one thing. And then the second thing for me, I guess, would be I need to get more comfortable raising capital. Is like all my mentors are saying, that's what I need to start focusing on.
Right.
And people, I mean, if they look at like our track record, I think they would want to invest with us. So
Exactly.
We love when it gets to that point. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean it's definitely hiring more people. I mean it takes a village to do what we're doing. You know, I know one thing for me is I need to slow down just a little bit. I want to go 2,000 miles an hour when, you know, people are like, I'm okay with 1,000, but I can't do 2. You know,
Yeah.
So it's kind of dialing
That's a
it
good
back.
problem,
Just,
though,
I mean,
right?
it is if you have that right team.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of slowing down for the moment because, you know, you kind of get people in and obviously, you know, you just get rambunctious and you just want so much more from them because you can see the potential in them and you're like, you know, they can go do it. You know, and the amount of stuff that we have going on, I mean, there's a lot of different businesses going on. So, you know, it's really being able to prioritize that time correctly. I know that, you know, sometimes I'll just get so fixated on one thing and then all of a sudden you know, I see the growth on that and then I kind of get mad at myself because this is failing. And it's like, I can only be mad at myself because I put so much time into this. This is why this is growing. This is why this is not. And so it's more, you know, prioritizing that time correctly to be able to actually let everything grow at the rate that I do want it to grow.
So how do you guys set your goals? Do you guys have a long-term goal and then like you break it down into like a yearly goal, or how do you guys do it?
So when I first started goals, you know, I kind of had that, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to go own 100 doors. And then you get to 100 doors and you're like, well, okay, that happened faster than I thought. You know, so then it's like, okay, I want to go do 1,000 doors. And it's like, you see how fast you can get there. And so really I've kind of stopped that, you know, real long-term goal. I mean, obviously the real long-term goal at this point is I have 2 beautiful girls and a wife. You know, I want to set my family up, you know, at this point. I know that they're going to go off and start their own family someday. So, you know, my long-term stuff is more setting things up, you know, looking at trust options and looking at more real estate, looking at more business ventures. And, you know, so it's really, you know, diversifying it to where, you know, it's like, okay, this can be your baby. This can be your baby. Dad's done. So
Me and Haley have these type of conversations all the time.
So I mean, my wife and I do as well. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of the long-term goal is that now, and so, you know, to really dial that back to what do I need to do today. I mean, you know, for me, it's my goals truly are going back to helping people. I mean, helping somebody can be as simple as giving somebody a job, giving somebody that opportunity, you know, promoting somebody, you know, doing more business with, you know, other investors. I have no problem doing partnerships and stuff like that. I mean, just making win-win situations. You know, Chris and I have partnered up together and we've been able to bless both of our families and doing so in many other families. And, you know, I want to be able to continue to do that because the more people that win, the better situations you're in. So, I mean, you know, it's looking at like my girls. I know one of the questions on there was like something about college or something like that. And I'm going to tell them like, listen, if you want to go to college, that is completely fine. There will be money for you to go to college, but I want you to go to college to make relationships. I don't care what you do in college, make relationships. That is going to be my biggest thing to them. If you don't want to go to college, go make relationships. Those will carry you farther in life than I guarantee you that piece of paper will.
I never thought of it like that, but I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I like that too. And we're the same way. We don't care if they go to college. Like, people probably cringe hearing that, but we don't care. Like,
we go into schools and we're like, please don't go to college. I mean, like,
we had a parent. I mean,
we literally have had a parent. I mean, that was like, you did what? And it's like, your daughter is so bright. Like, there is no reason for her to go to college. She could probably go, you know, take some, 10X courses and stuff like that and literally flourish faster than going and sitting in a classroom for 4 years.
Yep.
The only difference would be what relationships could she make there? But then if she's at those kind of conferences, what relationships could she make as well?
Yeah. Just curious, how much do you think up to this point you spent on like personal development?
I'll go broke for it. I don't. I mean,
like I feel like you're probably further than us, but we're around 40,000 that we spent.
I'm probably pushing 100.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
it's got. I mean, I don't remember how much Pace was and Chara. Like you had all these. I mean, there's stuff that, I mean, it's $2,000. I don't blink an eye at it. It's just like, I've got to go do this. Like this is a no brainer. And so like I kind of forget about those moments. So to put it all together, I'm like, oh shoot, to put me on the spot like that, I'm like, it's got to be up there. I mean,
for me, corporate paid for my college, right? So corporate paid for my 7 Habits Highly Effective People, the whole conference, things like that. So that was a trade-off. Like corporate, that was a great place to be because I got a lot of personal growth there, which helped me exit, right? And then now, so it's sub 2, being in the sub 2 community, that's a pretty costly investment. Things like that, like you said, at Chara, I'm hiring a coach for next year. I'm looking at that. You
look at Pace. I mean, we drove down to Little Rock, Arkansas. I mean, the event was free, but I mean, there was cost to get there, stuff like that. So I mean, that's, you look at it beyond that, and it's like we went to Kansas City stuff, we went to Tulsa stuff. I mean, just the travel aspect of it. It may have been a free event, but it's like we'll get up and go. Like, so what is it worth? I mean.
And I know I've heard percentages like, should you invest 10% of your annual income in yourself, 30%, like how much? I don't know that there's a right answer. Like, charity, do you give 10%? Like I go to church, they want 10%, right? How much should you invest in yourself? Is it 10%? Is it 20?
Why limit it to a percentage?
Yeah, is there a number?
Yeah. We kind of talked about this before we got going and stuff, I mean, throwing out percentages and stuff like that. And it's like, why limit it to a percentage? I mean.
So how do you make your decision making? Like if you think this might help me in my business, I'm going to go do it. Is that kind of your thinking?
I mean, obviously, kind of take a look at where finances are at that point in time and everything and look kind of what's in. I mean, because really at the growth rate that we're going, I mean, I can really only look about 3 to 6 months out. I mean, honestly, because it's chunking it down so much because there's so much going on. So, some people might look at that and cringe and go, "You're not a year, 2, 5. You don't have these goals." I mean, banks might be listening to this and go, "This guy doesn't have a 5-year goal." But don't watch this. But it's really looking at it from there. Like, I mean, there's a guy that works a lot with Chris that does mowing and stuff like that, and he does a little bit of stuff for us. And he was telling Chris and I one day about this equipment expo and stuff like that, and I started just asking more stuff about it, and I had no idea about it, and I was like, holy crap, like this is something I got to go to. I'm like, this is something that like we plan on doing this stuff within our businesses, and we need this equipment, we need these connections. And so it goes back to the people, the connections. What is that conference going to bring? I think it was only like $59, and it's a 3-day deal. But yeah, so I mean, it's like, what am I going to be able to go do there in that time frame? And so, kind of to be able to make those decisions, it's like that. It's like, I had no idea about this. I wasn't planning on this conference, but I look at this and I go, I would be stupid not to. For $59 for 3 days, for this, for that. Like, of course, there's going to be hotel travel involved, stuff like that, but that's just a byproduct of it. I mean, what's actually going to come out of that? So then, I've got my platform stuff. I mean, I know that I'm going to go do, some 10X stuff. I know that we're going to go meet up with Pace and stuff like that. We're going to go do, certain situations, but there's going to be other aspects that you never know the opportunity when it's going to come up. So it's kind of having your finances in place as well to know that there's going to be those things. So then when you look at it, it's like, I don't even have to go look at my finances on $59. Now, if you would have told me it was $59.99, all of a sudden I'm spending $6,000 on this. Now I'm going to go back and look, and then I'm going to, break out some criteria at that point of who am I going to be able to meet here? What am I actually going to be able to get out of this? What is the $6,000 going towards, and kind of break it out from there. Then it's like it kind of goes off to either yes based off of this stuff or no off of that stuff. And then it's okay, if it's something that is a no right now, do I go place it off over here and I look at it next year? Because is it no because we're sitting here with things where we really need to be sitting here with things. So then kind of can place around from there of what's going on. So that's where it's like I don't have necessarily like a percentage set aside or anything like that, because I don't want to limit things into a box like that to where if I need to go hit the personal growth on that aspect of it, then I want that money to be able allotted there. If I feel like there's deals coming up, then I want the money to be able allotted for deals. If there's a partnership that comes up, or if there's, somebody that's just really in need where it's like, you know what, this money's sitting here. I don't have any deals going on. There's nothing personally I want to go do. There's not this. This person needs help. It's going there.
So would you advise someone that's broke to go negative, maybe borrow the money from someone or put it on a credit card to go and start investing in themselves?
I would. Having done it, I absolutely 1,000% would tell you to go knock on your neighbor's door if that's possible. Honestly. I think it's one of those situations that if you truly want to better yourself, you got to go find any situation possible. And if that means going into major debt for it, go into debt knowing in yourself what you can propel forward. Now, if you go into debt, then all of a sudden
you don't do anything with it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, don't do that.
Why aren't they using resources that are free in front of them, like YouTube?
Yeah.
Like I plug in the audiobooks and YouTube, 2 podcasts a day and 30 minutes minimum of a book a day. That doesn't cost me much, right? For that growth. So why are they missing that? Like, I don't know. I can't.
You can go on Bigger
enough.
Pockets for free. You can pay if you wanted to. You can go to local meetups for free if you want to. But then there are paid. There is opportunities out there.
Yeah.
I tell people that they need to be doing 2 hours minimum of personal development a day.
Yeah.
That's what I advise. If they're not doing anything, they're just sitting at home or maybe working and they can have a headphone in or something.
It's so easy. Mow the yard, throw in a podcast, right? Drive, throw in a and they're free. If you start there,
it's tough to hear people when they're like, man, I would love to be where you're at. I want to be able to do this, that, and it's like, okay, well, you're saying that you work 8 to 5 from 5 to midnight. What are you doing? Oh, well, I'm watching TV and I go to sleep at 8 and I do this and I do that. And it's like, if you're going to sleep at 8, we're probably never going to do business. I know that sounds harsh, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you're going to sleep at 8, we'll have conversations till midnight.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's kind of where I'm going at 24 is like, we see a lot of that, right? And it's challenging that, like you said, are you going to invest 2 hours into your personal development? You say 2 or 3?
2.
You said 2.
Yeah.
Are you already when they come to you, oh, so you are suddenly we're going to have a different conversation.
Here's my data sheet. This is the 30 minutes of reading. This is the 30 minutes of this activity. This is this. This is that. I did an hour here. Did an hour there. And then all of a sudden I can see this data and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, you're committed. Let's now I will give you my time.
Yeah.
But if you're asking for my time and you're not committed, and all of a sudden you want to show up on Monday and then show back up on Thursday and then blow up my phone on Saturday, no, thank you.
Yeah, my daughter's doing it. She's 14, right? If my daughter can personal development,
man.
right?
That's amazing.
She's a special kid. Let's be honest.
But you know what I mean, though? If you're gonna pour into yourself, she was up till 11:30 last night, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if this 14-year-old can do this, and said, why can't you personal develop for 2 hours a day?
Yeah. So I actually do affirmations with our kids every day. They're still young, so I'll listen to my stuff, and it's probably their subconscious mind's probably picking up on it. But as far as affirmations, every day I go, do you believe in yourself?
Right.
Yeah. And Celeste will go, oh yeah.
Right.
And then, can you do anything you set your mind to? Yeah. Is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior? Yeah. So they get all excited, and
that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and they're 2 and 1 years old. So
right.
Yeah. And we're doing a devotional right now. God doesn't like fear, right?
Right.
It's in the Bible. Fear is a sin.
Yeah.
Or worry, fear, all that is.
What are you saying, Chris?
Yeah. So back to believing yourself and affirmations, and it's all free. You can start affirmations in YouTube for little or nothing. So
exactly.
You can absolutely get started in this business not spending a dime. It's spending the time.
Yeah.
Literally, you can get into this with no money out of your pocket.
Right.
You can find creative enough deals. You can go find and borrow the money to pay for the closing cost or a little bit of down payment if there is associated at that point. You can absolutely get going for no money. It's going to be the time that people have to invest into it.
Right.
There's always a trade-off. If you don't have the time, then sure, you're going to have to go into this knowing that you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars. And there's people that do that. They're like, yeah, I'm year one in, I dropped $100,000 on myself. Okay, how much time did you put? Okay, this makes sense. That's where, some of these people I think that do come, they're like, well, I've got to have all this money. And it's like, no, you don't. You're just seeing the YouTube stuff for free that is people that have the money, but they truly don't have the time.
Yeah.
You're watching an attorney that doesn't have the time but has $100,000 to go spend.
Yep.
You don't have $100,000, but what you do is you're telling me that you have 4, 5, 6 hours in your evening time that you can go put into this. And honestly, I think that's more valuable going in with zero money and the time than it is to not have the time and the money.
Yeah.
Yep. And in our what we're doing in our business, like literally, I'm sourcing a lot of my own deals, right?
Yes.
Anybody that's listening to this podcast, like, you can plug in with us, go source deals for us. You're going to get paid to drive or to make those dials. Like, it's pretty simple. We'll train to that, right?
I am a licensed real estate agent, so I'm not saying that I'm paying you for deals that I'm going to go list. But I as the owner of my investment company, to tell you, I will pay
right. Deals. It's that simple. Like, getting started is that simple.
I want to make that disclaimer out there.
So it is.
No, I mean it absolutely is. I mean there's a ton of ways to go ahead and get plugged in and be able to start learning and not have really any money out of your pocket. And I mean be able to go ahead and start getting that information and being able to actually see things. Because I mean until I started seeing a settlement statement, I didn't have a clue. I'm very much a visual person, so then when I start seeing that, it's like, holy crap! Like, I went for accounting, like I did all this, like I'm a numbers person, and so for me, it was seeing that, and then it was just like light bulb, like holy smokes, like this is what this looks like.
So what, like, I know obviously you're a lot further than when you were when you started. So what were those numbers that like put that impression on you?
So like, I mean, if we go all the way back from like. I mean, I can remember an instance to where there was a house that was under contract and it had a punch list that like the garage needed the paint scraped off of it, repainted. There was a stairwell that had to get a bigger extension ladder to be able to change out a light fixture and stuff like that, and kind of off in the corner it had settling crack, had to fix that. And then kind of some touch-up paint, some hardware, garbage disposal. Literally the garbage disposal, all that was wrong with it was it just needed the Allen key turned. It had just locked up on that, so literally just had to get cleaned out and the Allen key on it. Just real simple stuff like that. And I mean, I thought I was getting paid well, to be honest. Like it's real basic, simple stuff. We were talking about this on the way up, like punch list stuff, like real simple, basic stuff that people overcomplicate. And I don't know, I think I made $800 or $900 on that deal. And the real estate agent has a $4,800 commission, and then the seller's making $48,000 on it, or it's close to $48,000 on it. And I'm like, 900, 4,800. 48,000. This is pretty easy to look at numbers. So that's where I took that stepping stone of I went from basically the same amount of hours as the agent to do the deal, do the paperwork, do all that stuff, talk to the title companies, lenders, coordinate everything. You look at the same basic time frame into that, maybe a little bit more. But I mean, I don't have a calculator in front of me. Like, what's the percentage on that? I mean, that's a huge return in time value. And then you look from, if I'm making a $5,000 commission versus getting almost a $50,000 check from a flip, I mean, this is a no-brainer. When a guy's getting a $50,000 check, it's a no-brainer to go pay a guy $900. Like, so I mean, it works back down the other way. So then all of a sudden it's talking about that ladder effect. you always have somebody above and below you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be in real estate. It just, in that transaction, there's so much that goes on. How much did the lender get paid? How much did the title company get paid? How much, I mean, all these other aspects that people don't see. And it's like, this is all a part of real estate. I mean, somebody had to go mow the yard before the closing date. Like, there's so many ways to make money in a real estate transaction, and it's just plugging into the right scenario.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give someone that really wants to succeed? I mean, we kind of touched on that, but like if they want to succeed in life or in business in general, like what are some key things, maybe 3 things that you would advise them to start doing?
Yeah, wow. So like and for me, I have to know what they're going into. Like, is it real estate? Is it small business? What is it? But like back to believing in yourself. So pour into yourself. So YouTube what your interest is. Get books on what your interest is, because that's all free, right? Yeah. And then it's a connection. So it's what Levi just said, having purpose, a vision and purpose. So you're letting someone reach up to you, and you're reaching up to someone else, and they can connect with someone else in that industry for free. Yeah. Like you come to me and say, I want to learn insurance. I just want to hang out and learn insurance. I'm going to let you hang out and learn insurance, right? At the same time, no matter what level I am, don't feel like I'm so a lot of people tell me, well, I don't know anything. I'm still learning. Still let someone reach up to you. It gives you purpose. Yeah. And no matter what you're doing, there's something you can teach someone else. A lot of times I learn by teaching. So I'll learn that new task by teaching. I've got a presentation tomorrow in Branson. I'm going to be teaching people, and I'm learning as I'm teaching. It really is not giving up. So these are really simple things, but it's probably, you got to have some you got to be good at finances at some point. Like you got to figure that out if you're going to run a business. But it's really just showing back up the next day, no matter how red your numbers are, or how many people on your team left you, or you have no team and you are that team. It's continuing to show up and not give up. And that's really what it takes to grind through it and become successful.
When Chris and I go in and talk with, FBLA, DECA kids, stuff like that in high schools, it goes back to passion. I mean, that's one thing that we talk about is if you're not passionate about it, it's probably not for you, to be honest. If your passion is to go be a mechanic, that is perfectly okay. Go be the best mechanic you can be. If your passion is going and running garbage, own the garbage company and be the best person you can be. If it is going to being a billionaire one day, go be the best billionaire you can be. So, I mean, it really starts with passion. And then from there, I mean, yeah, it's just showing up every single day, just taking little chunks to just get to that point. And so, I mean, I think that's kind of where we're all at is, that's how we can be here today and be able to be on this podcast is, just showing up, being passionate about something and taking those steps.
Absolutely. What about you? What are like 2 to 3 things that you would say to someone that really wants to do well in life?
I would say YouTube University, even more so now. If you don't have the time, TikTok University. Mm-hmm. If you don't have time, or even if that's all you have and you don't have money, learn as much as you can. If you're not a big reader, there's some apps. I can't even think. Yeah, Audible or Blinkist or something like that. It's basically like Spark Notes for regular books. So it's like a 10-page summary of what the book is. So if that's all you even have is just time, there's a multitude of resources out there. Go job shadow someone. If there's a career path that you're interested in doing, you don't have to go to college just to figure it out. Go sit in the classroom. You don't have to do all that. You can fast forward it by job shadowing a few people that are actually doing it. Yep. Surrounding yourself with like 5 people that are doing better than you and just learning from them.
And then what I would add is goals, like setting those goals.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And I believe that it really does send a subconscious message to your mind, or sends a message to your subconscious mind to like, this is important to me, and I'm going to start coming up with creative ways on how I can make this hard thing happen. And so your mind will start working on that. And I think for me, that's helped me over the years a lot, is setting those goals. And I don't always reach my goals, but I'm way further than I would have been if I hadn't set those big goals, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my personal take on it. Yeah.
You can't hit a target you can't see.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Day, it's 5 different bullet points of what I'm chasing and throwing it in the universe, so that, and I think you hit on it. Year on year, I can see myself progressing towards those. Right. If I never put those out there, where would I be going? Like no GPS, like just floating around. So
Law of attraction.
I've got something to chase.
Mm-hmm. So what legacy do you guys want to leave?
I mean, I already kind of touched base on that. I mean, I want to be able to
Help as many people as possible.
I've always said that I want to be able to have names on buildings, but I mean, I don't even know if I care about that anymore, to be honest. I think it's just being able to know that my name can be carried on. Like, I have 2 girls, so it's like,
Oh yeah.
my name kind of is. I mean, honestly, but it's still being able to carry it on past that it's like, when people talk to my girls, they're like, oh, your dad was, or your mom was, or you're like, be able to go through that, to just know that there was that much good that we were able to leave in our community.
So do you want to leave everything to your kids that you accumulate, or what's your plan there?
I would love for that to be the scenario on that. Obviously, there's things that we're setting up that, we want to start doing scholarships. That's something that we would really like to get started next year. So, we want to start doing scholarships with high school graduates, and then kind of build it on from there that, kind of some things with like water gardens and stuff like that, be able to have opportunities for, kind of people that actually want to take those steps to better their lives, to be able to get into housing, be able to get a job, be able to go on from there. So, I mean, we could talk for an hour probably on, all these scenarios and stuff like that, but it's truly giving back into the community. So, I mean, as far as that goes, obviously there's putting a lot back into the growth of our companies to be able to give to my girls. But at the same token, there's, money from each of those companies that it's like, you will set this aside, and this is where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So keeping that legacy going to where hopefully, my girls can take that over to where it's, it's these are the scholarships going out. This is money that can go back into the community. This is situations that can go here and there. So then, kind of going back to like I was talking about, if there's money kind of sitting around or something like that, and all of a sudden, kind of in the cartel, we had, a member that kind of was fighting some cancer battle and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, this is money that's going to go here, and that's where it needs to go. Being able to have those opportunities, to be able to bless somebody in that way. I mean, absolutely. That's more important to me that my girls understand that aspect of it, because they have their whole lifetime to continue growing a company.
Yeah.
So I would rather them know and understand those core values than be a greedy business person.
Yeah. What about you?
So so we got charity organizations that we believe in, and so we invest in those. At the same time, I'm looking to develop my own like 501(c), right, at some point here, and I still don't have the exact purpose of that. I've been working with some folks, and I kind of know what direction I want to go. So right now it's pouring into the organizations like Water Gardens. It's one of them, our church, and some other things that I believe in. I'm always also about teaching a man to fish. So what I'm going to try to build is something like that. It's probably going to be some education-based, some housing, because that's what we're in, right? So some housing things. And probably within the next 2 years, I'll have something more defined. And as far as leaving my kids, I'm pretty open with my kids. I'm like, if you're plugged in, if this is the direction you want to go, like we're going to work towards that. At the same time, developing that charity organization, I want to leave a lot of stuff there too, is, leaving the legacy like we've talked about. I kind of want that organization to be my model and where I leave a lot of things. So there's a balance for me, and it's like family, children, but also, what am I leaving behind for others as well? So yeah, my 14-year-old will have a lot of talks about business and where we're headed, and the options available for her if she decides to go this route. But it's okay if you decide to go college, and she's big into volleyball. If you want to go be chase that dream, you're welcome to do that too. So this is always here, but we work hard. We got to plug in and work hard in the business. So,
What about you guys?
So for us, we want to give them the option, kind of like you guys. But I want to have like a CEO and like the whole chief executive set up to where if they don't want to do anything with it, the business can continue to grow without them.
Yeah.
But if they do want to be involved, they can kind of step into some of that role and pick and choose what they want to do. But I mean, I've been praying a lot about like whatever God's will for their lives, that they would go out and do whatever that is. So I don't know what that is. I mean, they're 2 and 1 right now.
Right.
So.
Right.
But I try to instill as many Christian values as we can in our kids. We want to start, we'll probably call it the Kurima Foundation, but I want to do some type of human trafficking charity. And I want that to be a really big deal. Like I want to grow that. Obviously, charities you can start with no money and raise the money. I always thought of it as an angle to where we'd put a lot of the money into it rather than raising money. But I mean, I don't know, I'll probably go back and forth on that. My goal for that is to start it when I'm like 40 or 45. But obviously, if I could do it sooner and help people sooner, that would be more ideal. So I don't know. What about you, Babe?
Ultimately, I would want the businesses to be set up like very passively, so that way if they didn't want anything to do with the real estate, they could still make money, whether they had their hand in it or whether they didn't. We would have the systems in place, so that way they wouldn't ever have to worry about money. And then if they wanted to go like chase their dreams and do something completely off the wall, like they have the opportunity to go.
I'm curious about this because my wife goes back and forth with this. Are you guys setting it up to where like they turn 18, it's like bam, here's the 21, like bam, like?
So we want to set it up in a smart way. We don't want to just hand an 18-year-old hundreds of millions or billions or whatever. We want to be able to, like I think 35 is a safe age to where they can kind of be released to have all the money. But until then, I kind of hopefully we'll live long enough to where we can kind of see how they turn out, and we can shape them to
Kids
be.
Don't screw up.
yeah. But I don't know. That's kind of our thought process. And then as far as like legacy, the other legacy part of like who I wanted to be remembered for is I want to be known as like a really good Christian guy and a very genuine person that really cared for people, not like greedy or whatever. And then what about you, Habe?
I don't really know. My thought process was we joke about them with their trust fund. So if they break something, they don't have a trust fund or anything, but we always tell them if they break something, it's coming out of their trust fund.
That's good.
That's awesome.
That they don't have.
Right. No, I mean we're kind of the same way. I mean, it's like okay, might buy you a house, but it's not going to be like a lavish house or something like that. But be there for like college and then like a vehicle. Obviously want them to have something reliable, but then still. Low enough that they can learn responsibility with it. So it's setting them up better than I definitely was.
For
and
sure,
I mean, I don't want. I mean, I was blessed. I mean, we didn't have much, but I mean, we had right.
Yeah.
We weren't on the streets or anything like that. But I want to be able to still give them those opportunities in their life to figure out who they are and learn those mistakes as well. Because if I teach you those mistakes now, you need to learn some of these. Like obviously, it's, hey, here's these guidelines, but then at the same token, it's kind of like you've got to go figure this stuff out on your own as well.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example. So right now I'm reading the
I was
Hilton's
about
book,
to bring that up.
and so all the Hilton hotels and all that. So the son wanted to start working for his dad, but the dad wouldn't pay him as much as he said he needed per week as the dad was willing to pay. So he's like, but Dad, like I have 5 staff at home. So like he had like probably a butler, someone to keep the house clean,
A nurse,
and then someone to probably the groundskeeper and maybe something else.
maybe a chef.
So he's like accustomed to this lifestyle that his dad kind of provided, but his dad kept being like, what in the world, why do you need all this? When I started, I had nothing. Like we were poor. and everything. So from his perspective to his son's perspective, it's completely different, but he had gotten accustomed to this lifestyle. So that's what I'm kind of worried about, is like, where does that fall for our kids? Because I expect to have that type of lifestyle where we have a lot of people that take care of our house. It's always clean, all that stuff.
I want to get away from groceries. I don't want to ever go to a grocery store again. Like, they can tell me the milk's $27 at that point in my life. I wouldn't care. Like, you know, whatever that scenario is. Like, I'm with you. Like, I kind of, I don't want to cook. I don't want to have to, like, I know, because if I'm cooking, like, I'm either grilling something or I'm probably making a bowl of cereal. Like, just being honest. Like,
that's a valid point. Like, I think about that too. Like, you know, I'm not where I want to be or where I'm going to be, but we do have the housekeeper. We do have, you know, and so it's like, well, I remember as a child that we picked up out of ourselves. We cleaned everything. We mowed the yard. Like, I don't mow the yard. Like, I don't clean my car. Like, you know, those are all things that, you know, we hire out. So you bring out a really good point there.
So, I mean, it's hard. Like, how do you go from, like, here, you're going to start. I mean, a lot of people say, my dad's rich, but I'm broke. Like, that's what they teach their kids at an early age. That way they know this is not my money. This is what my dad worked hard for. So he created that for himself. So they know that they have to go out and do it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe and mom, sorry. But maybe we, you know, do some stuff where, like, we live like we're really broke, maybe a week out of the year, and just try to put them in different situations so they really appreciate it. And we want to travel the world a lot, so maybe go into those, like, countries that aren't as fortunate and
or
letting
go
them
tent camping.
stuff like that.
well, I mean, yeah, like, when I was in high school, I mean, our church, I mean, that's what they did around like November and stuff like that, going into Thanksgiving, was, you know, it was bringing homeless people in. And one thing that we did is, like, we brought cardboard boxes and slept in cardboard boxes outside. And then the whole deal was we would do that on a Friday night, wake up Saturday morning, there'd be a breakfast, we'd do a lunch, there'd be fellowship, you know, stuff like that. And I think it goes back to those values of you got to teach the kids, like, listen, this is what your situation could be. You are blessed to be in this situation, but there are other people that are in these situations. So you need to understand that we're not here. Even though we're here, you got to find some middle ground. You're not going to just get handed this life, but I'm going to make sure that you're not in this either.
Exactly.
So gosh, I mean, we could probably talk all day about that. I mean, it's tough to go, what is the right path? I mean, because it's like, let's be honest, like, if you're the preacher's kid, I mean, you're probably going to go out at some point and rebel and do that. I mean, it's, you know, it's the statistics out there, and it's unfortunate, but then it's like, if you grow up in a very abusive home or something like that, then you're probably going to go be one of the best followers of Christ. I mean, like, I'm not trying to put that out there as like a full broad statement for everybody or anything, but I mean, you know, it's the truth. I mean, that's a lot what you see. And so, you know, it's how do you define that role to make sure that you don't have those extremes, that you have more of that straight and narrow. They're going to mess up. We all messed up at some point in our life. We're still probably going to mess up. Let's be honest. Like, so
how can people connect with you guys?
So, I mean, so my office phone, 620-231-6460. I mean, we're social media, I feel like we're fairly active. So, like, Facebook, Instagram, and the Joplin REIA. So really, it's JoplinREIA.com, right?
Yes.
I mean, we got a monthly meetup every Tuesday, 6 p.m.
Joplin Facebook page.
Joplin. But yeah, I mean, we want to connect. We have a lot of people reach out. We try to reach out to a lot of people too, right? So really, any method that you can find us. I know this podcast is a good way. But we love to text, jump on Zoom calls, whatever we can do to stay active and try to give back all we can, because we appreciate those that give to us. So
I stopped giving out my personal cell phone number. So if you want that, hit me up on Facebook. I mean, that's probably going to be the best way to be able to get a hold of me, and then from there we can kind of go off from there. But always absolutely come to one of the Joplin REIA meetings, first Tuesday of the month. Come by my office. I mean, I'm usually out in the community. You can see my truck. I mean, like, at that point, I mean, there's multiple ways. So I definitely encourage it. I don't ever want to tell somebody that they can't get a hold of me. It's just I've got to crack down on that personal stuff.
No, I don't blame you. I don't give mine out either. Really, so.
Oh, whatever. Yours is on billboards.
Oh yeah, it is. It is on one, but that's for houses only or apartments. If I'm going to buy.
So I had to get a dedicated line for that
yeah.
to where I'm like, this is no longer a phone number associated with.
That's funny.
Okay, do you guys have a final message for our audience?
Yeah, I do. So, like, I appreciate you guys having us on. Like, this is something you don't get paid to do. And it's a testimony to, like, why we're here, right? So...
Wait, I thought we were getting paid.
Right, yeah, we're paying, yeah. That's funny. But
the check will not cash.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's really a testament to what we do, like we all do, right? It's giving and not asking for anything. And it's connecting with people first, and it's giving first. I mean, it's all those things. And it's just, so I appreciate the time today from you all. Like, I know you're busy and taking time out to meet with us, you know, and put together this podcast. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you guys.
And so I would challenge all the listeners to do something like that. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but how are you giving back today to a community, you know, and whatever that aspect looks for you, dive in and do it.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I want to say thank you very much for having us. You know, I know that Chris and I appreciate, you know, the opportunity to be here, and you know, I know we've got to talk multiple times at other meetings and stuff, and it's always a blessing to be around you guys, and always a blessing to be in Chris's presence as well. You know, as far as the listeners go, you know, I just say, you know, be intentional today, whatever that is. If that's personal growth, if that's being a better employee, if that's being a better spouse, you know, better husband, better wife, you know, just be intentional. Just dive in and do something with a purpose. You know, just kind of piggybacking off of Chris, I mean, obviously plugging into a community is going to be the best way possible. Just be able to meet people, just do it with intention.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for coming out here too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
Lots of cows.
I don't get to my bed
Right.
often, so.
Yeah, I was like, we went through Pierce City. I don't remember going through Pierce City. It's been a minute since I've been out here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for watching the Kurima podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.